Well, I think it's super cool to be inducted into the East High Hall of Fame just because all the people that are been inducted to the Hall of Fame are just mentors or people I've always looked up to all my life. Although it's kind of different for me. I don't know that I'm truly the guy to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I think my whole family, going back to my grandfather who graduated in 1931 to my dad being inducted or graduating in 59, is that the whole family has contributed to East High. So I feel like I'm really accepting this honor on behalf of my whole family. So my dad graduated in 1959, and so he only had to go to school half days because he had so many credits to graduate. And so he and my grandfather had a Ford tractor, and he used to dig basements in the afternoon when he was going to school, and so that's how our business got its start. My grandfather graduated in 1931, and my grandmother graduated in 1933, and so they met at East High School, and all my aunts and uncles went to East High, and all my cousins went to East High School. So it's really, my whole family has gone to East High School, and so just East Side and East High School has shaped my whole family's life from start to finish. So there's actually a book called Grit, and it's about people who are either really smart and not as smart, and then there's people who work hard and don't work quite as hard. So obviously if you're really smart and you work hard, you're going to be pretty successful. But there's also, if you're not very smart and you don't work very hard, you're probably not going to be as successful. But then there's that group in between that either you're really smart and don't work hard, or you're not as smart but you work really hard. That's what they call grit. And I feel like I fit in that box where I wasn't quite as smart as everybody else, but I worked really, really hard. And I know that's made me successful. And it's just been the way I've always grown up and worked. Like, to be honest with you, I wasn't the smartest kid at East High School, but I was in graphic design with Mr. Bach, and I did all the graphic drafting classes with Mr. Muller, and woodshop with Mr. Winiger, and then I was in all the bands with Mr. Cadwallader, and then also my wrestling coach, Coach Rourke. I was at school at 7 a.m. and I didn't get home till 6:30 at night. So I worked really, really hard. Kind of a funny thing was during the doing pictures of the yearbook, I actually, through all that, I actually made it in the top 15% of the class. And so, 450 people in our graduating class or so, top 15%. Well, I probably was like number 59 or 60. I was the last of that, top of that 15%. But I remember a kid looking at me and saying, "Gee, I didn't think you belonged in the top 15%. You weren't that smart." And I was like, "Yeah, but I worked hard to get here." Giving back to the community and giving back to East High School, when you get out of school, that's probably not the first thing on your mind. You're ready to start your career and come out of that. But then you look back on how it shaped you and mentored you and grew you as an individual. Probably one of my favorite things when I was a wrestler, and I lettered in wrestling and I lettered in band, but honestly, I wasn't the best wrestler. I was probably just an average wrestler. And but I remember showing up every day and going to practice with Coach Rourke, and he'd always have us working out. And it's funny, I think I got to wrestle varsity one time, and I pinned a kid, and that gave me just enough points to get a letter for wrestling. And so I was so proud that I lettered in wrestling, but to be honest with you, I was just an average wrestler. But I showed up every day and I worked hard, and it paid off. Same thing when I was in band. Worked hard, marching band, concert band, pep band, jazz band, and just worked really, really hard at those. And working hard, I think, is really one of the keys to being successful, is working hard and getting through that. I can remember going back to the day, and also going back to my wrestling days. My dad wrestled at East High School as well in the late 50s, and he was actually, one of his teammates was Coach Lutz. Tom Lutz was a classmate of my dad's, and then Coach Lutz was also the wrestling coach when I was a freshman. And my dad always said, I was just probably an average wrestler, but my dad would always say, "Jaybird, what does it say on the top of East High School there in the cafeteria? It says, a winner never quits and a quitter never wins." And when you're getting beat down and you weren't amongst that, you didn't understand that. But Dad would always say, you can't quit. You're not going to win if you quit. And so all through my 4 years of wrestling, all through my 4 years of high school, that was just always ingrained in me, that a winner never quits and a quitter never wins. And I continue to say that today. That's kind of a phrase. I know it's a Vince Lombardi quote, and but I feel for most of my life, I always thought that's an East High quote, and that's really what's helped form me and shaped me to never give up and to never quit.